Welcome everybody to New Knives on September 16th, 2024. We have a great big pile of new knives and it's going to be a lot of fun for us to talk about. Before we jump too far in though, I want to tell you about a sale that is running. A lot of our Boker exclusives are on sale, including just these three and many others. This one is our Mini Strike automatic. We also have the XXL Kalashnikov, this big honky chunker of an automatic. And also, we have a left-handed Kalashnikov. So it's not too often that you see a left-handed auto, and it's very even less often that you see a left-handed auto on sale. So that day is this day. So head on over to the link in the description for the Boker Knives on sale, and you can get a lot of awesome knives for a lot of awesome prices. But without further ado, let's talk about some new knives, starting with this guy. This is the new Benchmade Bugout for Season 2 of this year. This one we have a Bowler M390 blade and these aluminum handles that are sort of made to look like brass, but this is just an anodization that they're calling burnt brass. And it looks really good, and I think because aluminum tends to scratch up a little bit as you carry it, I think once this gets some of that in there, and even some dirt and sweat and grime, that's gonna look so good. But it's nice and light like aluminum is, and it provides a really slick action as well. And another thing is this has a new texture that we've never seen on bugouts before. And I think this is my favorite texture I've seen on any bugout scale from primary or secondary market. It is just real nice. Fits really well, has enough meat right here where the webbing of your thumb hits, so it's not gonna provide any hot spots. They did a really good job with this bugout, and I am quite impressed with how they did it. Those are going for $288 at BladeHQ.com. Next up, also from Benchmade, we have the Mini Narrows. So the Narrows is their all no holds barred, pull out all the stops, make the coolest knife they can, engineer a fancy new way to nest the axis lock, same 20 CV blade, nice titanium scales, feather light, but also ultra premium and very, very thin. One of the easiest to carry EDC knives out there, and it just locks in the hand just right. I would love to carry this. However, I think this is courting somebody with a bit more means than me who can justify $504 on a folder. But if you can swing it, I think that this might be the magnum opus of thin and light. And I think that's kind of what Benchmade has made a name for themselves in the last few years. Very nicely done, Benchmade, on this Mini Narrows. Next up, we have a whole ton of new stuff from We Civivi Sencut, starting with the Archzoic, which I would assume is a period of dinosaur occupation of the Earth. But this one is in classic Civivi and We fashion, very, very nice. We have this really fun camo-ish carbon fiber handle. I don't know if it's camo carbon fiber, but it definitely is a marbled carbon fiber. And a high polished and differentially anodized bolster. So it gives it a bit of a textural contrast in the look and in the feel. And then on the back, we kind of have the best of both worlds from a liner lock and a frame lock. Here you see it doesn't have anything affecting it. So with frame locks, we have a frame lock on the table like this one. With a frame lock, when you push here, sometimes it can affect the detent force. So it can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes, although this one's really good. We'll have to talk about that later. But sometimes that is a problem. So a liner lock doesn't have that problem, but you don't get the strength of a frame lock. Here, they nest the frame deep in there, and that way you can't depress it while you're opening the knife, but you get the full thickness and strength of a frame lock, which I really appreciate here on the Archzoic. This is a fun knife. Honestly, it's surprisingly light for how huge it is, and it's nicely balanced too. It feels more nimble than it looks, I guess. Very nicely done, We Knives. Those are going for $357. Next up, we have the We Knives Guthrie, and this one has your your bolster lock on carbon fiber scales with titanium frame and a very nice M390 blade. This thing is slicey. That is M390, right? Doesn't say. I would assume it's M390. It might be Van X. They've been cooking in that lately. But it's a cool knife. It's got a front flipper with quite a protrusion and a good amount of jimping, so it's a nice, easy front flipper. And then also thumb studs if you prefer the more traditional way of opening, but it's slick as butter. And it's a big knife. Once again, I have medium or large size hands when it comes to gloves, and I can get 2 extra fingers on this handle, so it's a big one. It's a nice slicer and carver. It's a cool knife. And I like that We is sort of taking an approach of making classy premium knives, almost gentleman style knives, but doing it in such a way that it is big and usable. And so if you find yourself in a position where I'm in a suit, but I also have a big cutting job to do, I have a knife that will fit both sides equally well. On the other side, on the very budget-friendly side, we have the Sencut Cyric. And apart from being fun to say, this knife's a lot of fun to use. So it has a bearing pivot, so it's nice and smooth. And I gotta tell you, I've been here for only 5 years, and when I started at Blade HQ, a action of that smoothness at this price point was only a dream, a shadow, and a hope. It is $47.25, gets you this, so smooth. On a very nicely detented button lock, thumb studs or flipper, and a nicely contoured anodized aluminum handle. Very comfortable in the hand. I could see myself using this for a long time. And then it has a nice deep carry pocket clip. Seriously, Civivi and and Sencut in this case, you guys are killing it with these actions. I'm very impressed with that one. Keeping it button lock, next up we have the Civivi Pragma. And this one has, instead of the 9CR18 MOV on that guy, we have Nitro V blade steel here, aluminum handle scales, a nice smooth button lock like we were saying earlier. This one also has this little carabiner on the back and no pocket clip. Now there's a lot of people out there, especially ladies, who would love to carry a knife, but their pockets are so small. And not only is this a small knife and you might be able to squeeze it in a pocket, but this thing would love to just clip on a belt loop and just carry easily like that. That's how I do my keys. It's nice and easy to get there. So why not just throw a knife there? If your pockets are occupied or non-existent in some cases, clip this somewhere and that'll give you a really good quality everyday carry knife with a nice sheepsfoot blade for biting into things. A blade steel that is tough and resilient, can handle it all, from a brand that we know and respect, and we know of their ability to make quality stuff for a great price, $59.50. Seriously, this might be my favorite Civivi of the year. There's another one that we haven't quite seen yet, but when we do, I'll tell you that it is a tie between. But I really do enjoy this Pragma. And the last from the Civivi is the Hid, and this is from the designer Ostap Hell. And he's one that, like, we haven't had him on a Blade HQ video before, although we probably should. But he's a designer that is very prolific. We see a lot of his designs, and he's really good at it and has a lot of range. He does a lot of compact everyday carry knives, but this is sort of like a folding chef's knife. And as you can see, it has sort of a Santoku profile. You can do your pinch grips, you can do your rocks, you can mince onions and everything, but then folds down. And the interesting feature here is, I was looking at this when Seth from Seth Erkenbrack, came and showed us this, and I'm like, how does that pivot work? And he was explaining it to me. This is actually a false pivot right here. This is just a screw, like a body screw, sort of like this screw right here on the Bugout. It just holds the scale to the liner. But the actual pivot is underneath, and you kind of have to see, but if I move this, you can see it is not rotating about that pivot. It's just a clever way to make sure that the aesthetic remains the same, but it also means that these scales will pop off and it'll be really easy to clean, which is a very important thing when it comes to pocket knives, because especially pocket knives being used in food, because there's a lot of grossness in your pocket. You're gonna wanna clean this before and after every time you cook with it, and I really appreciate that they made it nice and user-friendly because of that. Well done, Civivi, and well done, Ostap Hell. Next up, GiantMouse, and this is the Rio. So GiantMouse has a history of naming all of their knives after bars, and this one is named after the Rio bar in Michigan? Somewhere, I don't know where in Michigan. I don't keep up with bar culture. But apparently Rio was a car company back in the day, and they had a car called the Speedwagon. And then Rio died and the Speedwagon died with it, but a band was born. And I guess GiantMouse just couldn't fight this feeling any longer because they made this with a nice titanium handle. I wanna say a MagnaCut blade. Yep, MagnaCut. This one actually won awards at Blade Show 2023. And I really like it. Like I was mentioning earlier, is its frame lock. So I can press pretty darn hard. I am giving it all of my force there, but it barely affects the detent at all. And that is something that is very rare on frame locks. I don't know how they did it, but I wish every frame lock could do it, because there's some, like if you just are trying to flick it open and you just rest your finger on the lock bar, it makes it impossible to open without hurting yourself. But this one, I don't know how they tuned its detent so perfectly, but they did. And I'm very impressed with GiantMouse, as well as the whole team up there. And lastly on the table, we have from Spyderco, the new twist on the old classic, the Centofonte 3. So this one, I was looking into it because I honestly didn't remember it. Apparently like a decade ago, this was one of the go-to Spyderco designs. And this is them reviving it with a carbon fiber handle and a Cruwear blade. And I love what Spyderco's been doing with that, because occasionally we'll see a design we haven't seen in a while. Like a couple of years ago at Blade HQ, we had the Dodo and the Polywog. There we go, the Polywog. We had the Dodo and the Polywog that were dead and gone for the longest time, but we brought them back for a limited run. And one of our distributors did that with the Centofonte 3, except instead of the old FRN handles and I want to say a VG10 blade, instead we have carbon fiber peel ply here and Cruwear. So a nice carbon steel, little patina, but very tough. And this thing is so smooth to operate. I do very much enjoy it. Lockback in traditional Spyderco fashion. And one thing I do really appreciate here that you don't see onto a lot of lockbacks is they managed to make it a full extension to the heel here of edge without preventing you from one-handed closure. So a lot of the time you'll have like a big ricasso here or a finger choil, and then when you hit the lock bar and the blade falls, it's that hits your finger. But here, it's inside the handle. So you get the full length of the edge and still the ability to just rock it to your finger and close it. And I just love what they've done. Spyderco makes some of the most ergonomic lockbacks out there. But not just in terms of handling, but also in use, operation, making it easy to operate one-handed, which was sort of how Spyderco got their start. Before Spyderco, one-hand operating everyday carry knives were pretty rare. But now, everybody does it, and the other thing that Spyderco started everybody does, pocket clips. All but one knife on the table have a pocket clip, and that was Sal Glesser's idea. He's a genius, and his son Eric, who's running the company now, is also a genius, and I love to see what Spyderco is doing. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. You can find all of these knives and more at bladehq.com, so head over there and find your perfect new knife. And with that, we'll see you next time.